Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to give you all just a second or two to come on in to get settled. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Drop in the chat what's the weather like. I'm tuning in from Rochester, New York. It's a little gloomy outside, but I'm staying cozy inside. So I'm so happy to invite you all to learn about how to turn any trip into a wellness journey. First, some introductions. I'm Rebecca. I'm the director of virtual events at Wonderful, and I'm also the creator behind Becca the Explorer. So let me know who you are, where you're tuning in from. Have you been on a wellness journey before? Have you tried to add any wellness tips or activities to your itinerary before? Let us know in the chat. What are you excited to learn today? Let's see. Okay, we have people tuning in from Oregon. Rose from Kansas City. Welcome. So happy to have you here. From Mexico, hello. Thank you for joining us. And if you haven't heard of Wonderful before, welcome. We're thousands of women travelers and travel content creators based all over the world, and our goal is to help make travel better for women worldwide. You can catch us in over 50 cities where we're regularly hosting local events, and we have an enormous online network so you can tap into the sisterhood wherever you are during your travels. We're all about opening up the world, lifting barriers for women, which is why we love hosting free and online events just like this one to help you grow. Now, I'd like to introduce you all to our speaker, Lucy Maynard. She is the creator of the travel brand Lucy on Local, which specializes in wellness, sustainable, budget, and adventure travel. In addition to blogging, Lucy leads bespoke small business trips to some of the most sought-after destinations in the world. Lucy is also a travel advisor who loves personalizing and elevating her client trips. So let me welcome to the stage, Lucy. Hi.
Hi, everyone. Good. Thank you for having me.
Ooh, we have people tuning in from sunny and chilly New York City, from the Netherlands. Welcome. Also, we have two people from New York City. Wow, welcome. Welcome. Ooh, energy medicine and spiritual adventures. I love that. So excited to see everyone tuning in today. And Lucy, I'm going to bring up your slides here and then we're going to get started.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. So first, I'd love for you to tell me in the comments if you have ever been on a wellness trip. Of course, the term wellness can mean a lot of different things to different people in this context. Any type of a trip where sort of one of your main purposes was to go and just take care of yourself physically, mentally, not just any vacation, like something where you went very intentionally to focus on you. I'd love to know if you've been on any type of trip that fits that bill. I plan wellness oriented trips for myself and my clients all the time. And contrary to popular belief, a wellness trip does not have to be to a remote resort in nature that has wellness in its title. It can be. Wellness branded properties can be fabulous trips, but those are not your only option when you're thinking about planning a wellness trip for yourself. You can do a wellness trip staying at a vacation home. You can do it in a tent at a national park campsite. You can rent a camper van and do a wellness trip. You can make any type of trip into a wellness trip with a little bit of pre-planning and then some very specific things to do during your trip. All right, let's see. Okay, so not many people, it doesn't seem like many people have gone on wellness trips. That's really exciting. So hopefully, after today, you'll be able to maybe turn a current trip you have planned into a wellness trip or plan one specifically with wellness in mind. So what we're going to cover today is some things to do before your trip, so during the planning process, and then some things you can do during your trip to really keep everything focused on you and your wellness, and what you are really needing and wanting from your travels. Okay, so when you're starting out, you want to clearly define and think about the purpose of your trip. This is oftentimes called setting your intentions. A lot of times that's a phrase you'll hear when talking about wellness travel and wellness trips. So getting really specific, is it to unplug completely from your devices? Is it to hike part of the Appalachia Trail? Is it to, take a break from your kids or just all kids in general? If you're like, I really want to go to an adults only place. Do you want to finish writing that last chapter of your book? Do you want to make time to read a book? Are you grieving a loved one? Are you maybe preparing for a major life event? So thinking about what really drilling down in the core essence of what are you wanting to emotionally accomplish for yourself and give yourself during this trip. Be honest and kind of keep it focused. If you just want to sleep, like if you just want to go to a place where you can sleep in every day and not set alarms, that's perfect. That's amazing. So just think about your why, the why of you wanting to take a wellness trip. The second thing you want to think about is who you're going to be traveling with. So if you're traveling solo, then you can skip step 3, set clear expectations, because if you're traveling solo, you're automatically going to be on the same page with you, yourself, and I. If you're traveling with a group, it could be like a girls trip, a friends group, it could be your partner, it could be a grown child, it could be your mother, any type of companions you're bringing with you. You want to make sure that they also share that same sort of purpose and intent that you've set for the trip. You want to make sure all your travel companions are kind of on the same page. That doesn't mean when you're traveling that you all have to be joined at the hips. You don't have to do everything together. You just want to kind of share and honor that core common purpose for taking this trip. Okay, as you're thinking about where you want to go, your destination, like I said before, you can plan a wellness trip anywhere, but you want to choose a place that makes sense for you, that makes sense for the intentions and the purpose of your trip, and that makes sense with your schedule. If you only have 5 days for this wellness trip and you live in California, probably don't want to go to Europe because you'll lose 2 of your 5 days to, stressful travel days with multiple flight connections. So when you're thinking about where you're going to go for a wellness trip, try and pick a place that you can get to fairly directly, to sort of cut down on any pre and post travel stress and logistics when you're thinking about that. Choose a climate and a setting that's going to make you happy. If you're planning a wellness trip in January and you know that when January rolls around you're going to be sick and tired of the cold, then pick someplace warm to go for your retreat. Picking a place where when you get out of the car or you step off the plane and you maybe you smell the ocean, maybe it's like really warm, whatever type of feeling you want the place to give you. Pick a place that's going to give you that feeling. That's going to set your whole trip up for success right from the get-go. As you're thinking about your accommodation, the place you're going to stay, again, think about who's traveling with you, and go back to that intent and that purpose of why you're traveling. So, a block of hotel rooms might not be the best choice. It could be a vacation home. If you're going to scuba dive, picking a resort that has an on-site dive shop so that it's easy to store your equipment and everything's taken care of for you might be really important. If you really want to be immersed in nature, a glamping site might make sense for you. So don't get pigeonholed or focus too much on hotels and resorts. They can be fabulous. They might be what you end up going with. But sort of broaden and think about other types of accommodations that you might prefer or that might lend themselves better to what you're wanting to do and accomplish with this wellness trip. All right. The last thing we want to make sure we very intentionally do before we head off on our wellness trip is when we take a break from work. Unfortunately, we have to do more than just set our out of office, email notification. That's great, but we have to communicate with our coworkers, and sort of ask them and tell them, please don't call or email unless it's something urgent or it's an emergency. And if you do, I won't necessarily get back to you immediately. We have to set some clear expectations and some standards, and then we have to hold to that. So if we say that, we don't want to get an email notification, whatever we're doing on our trip, immediately respond to it. Like, we really want to take a true vacation. And so for me personally, I very rarely can take a trip and not work at all. I would say that's what most people, going cold turkey from work can be kind of jarring and just not completely realistic for everyone. So if you do have to work some during your trip, what I do and what I suggest people do is designate like 1 hour, maybe 1.5 hours at the most each day. Set your timer, stick to that hour and a half, and answer emails, look through your texts, return phone calls, things that you have to do. If it's not urgent, maybe just put it into your other inbox tab and take care of it when you get back. So making sure that before your trip, you have a really good plan so that you don't plan and take this amazing wellness trip, but then end up working through it the whole time. That's going to be most likely counterproductive to some of the intentions and purposes you set for your trip. All right. So once you are on your trip and have arrived, make sure you give yourself plenty of time to just sleep and rest. That's something that even if we feel like we get really good night's sleep most nights during sort of our regular day-to-day lives, just really making sure that we let ourselves just rest and relax. So for me, I love to just sleep in until my body wakes me up. That is one of sort of like a successful hallmark of a wellness trip for me. Taking a nap if I get tired. That's something that a lot of my clients, that in their day-to-day life, if they're tired, they can't necessarily just take a nap. But on a wellness trip, a lot of times that's something that they want to travel to be able to do. So when you're on a wellness trip, I suggest doing no more than one sort of planned activity a day. So either sleep in, rest, take the morning off, and do something in the afternoon. Or if you're an early riser, then maybe getting on up, doing something in the morning, and then in the afternoon, leaving it free for naps, for reading, for just sitting on the beach, sitting by the pool, people watching. When you're on a wellness trip, you don't want to be the Energizer Bunny. You don't want to be just go going the whole day. Don't jam pack your days. Give yourself time to just kind of sit back, relax, and enjoy wherever you are. One of my other top tips is to not plan anything after dinner. That way, if you finish dinner and you're tired, you can turn in for the night and you don't have to kind of rally or get ready for something else. If you get a second wind after dinner, then there's still time for you to do something, for you to plan something or find something to do where you're staying. But keeping that after dinner time free, I have found for me, and a lot of clients say that is a very de-stressing, like very cathartic to finish dinner and like you can do whatever you want to do, sort of type of feeling and mindset for that. Going on a wellness trip really, I think, should be about you, what you need, what you want. Um, but you don't want to overdo it. You want to treat yourself, but you don't want to overindulge. So if you want dessert, say yes and get a dessert. But maybe just for like one meal a day and not all three. If you have a daily exercise routine, when you're at home in your day-to-day life, I would still do some type of movement, active something during that time on your trip. Um, when you're going on a wellness trip, you don't want to let go of or make every day skip day from some of the healthy and positive routines that you have set up in your day-to-day life. Um, so think about your day to day on your wellness trip and try and keep some of those really positive um, parts of your day that are really healthy for you physically, mentally, and then ways you can maybe kind of indulge and treat yourself as well. Um, and then we want to make sure we get outside. Okay. Um, Being outside is so good for our mental and our physical health. Being active makes us feel accomplished, and it gives us those kind of oh so good endorphin feelings going on. So do your best to get outside as much as possible on your wellness trip. That can look many different ways. That can be going for a hike. If you're staying in a city, that could be, having a picnic lunch in a different public park every day. It could be walking on the beach. It could be biking into town each day. Um, Whatever type of physical activity you really enjoy doing, try and incorporate that into your daily routine on your wellness trips. Okay. All right. So clearing your mind. Sorry. So at least once a day on your wellness trip, set aside time for some type of activity that helps you, you know, calm your mind, clear your mind, focus your mind, and allows you to process thoughts and feelings, maybe reflect on life, and appreciate your time away. So for me, my favorite way to do this is to go scuba diving. I can just literally let all of my stress, worries just float and melt away. And then I come up and I just feel light as air. And usually that feeling lasts me most of the rest of the day after my dive. Um, for you, that could be journaling. It could be yoga. It could be listening to music. It could be going for a hike. It could be meditation or something else. Um, but really thinking about what that type of kind of being with just me, myself, and I time looks like for you, and then incorporating that into a little bit of time each and every. It can be a lot of time if you want on your wellness trip each day, but at least a little bit of designated specific time for you. Um, and then we want to unplug from our devices as much as we can. Um, so every day, I highly recommend, this is what I do, sort of designating times where you just don't use your electronic devices. Preferably, you can just leave them in the room, go do something else, leave them behind, and really unplug and not be tempted just to, scroll through social or check your work emails, to kind of help yourself take that step back from it. This can be tough. It's tough for me. So I love taking photographs. Photography is very cathartic for me. It's actually one of the other things in addition to diving that I do a lot when I want to kind of clear my mind and just kind of space out and be in the moment. But my phone is my primary camera when I travel. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll leave the phone and I'll either bring my GoPro or my DSLR, my big camera. and let those be my camera for certain activities. Because when I use my phone, even when I'm like, okay, I'm only going to use it for photos, like I pull it, I take a photo, and then, there's a notification or I can see an email. It's so tempting to open it and look at it. But leaving the phone behind, kind of helps me not be constantly checking it. Now, we always, disclaimer to that, we always want to prioritize safety. So if you are going on a hike by yourself, or if you're biking into town on a road, please don't leave your phone behind. Those are not the times to completely unplug. If you're in any type of situation or setting where you think, I might need to call for help, or it would be good, if I was reachable or had service, then please, please, please bring your phone with you. If one of those times you're like, oh, I really am going to need my phone, but I really want this to be an unplugged time, a trick I do is I'll often turn my phone, either I'll turn Wi-Fi on or set one of my do not disturb notifications so that it'll keep me from getting notifications. And I can't just pull up social. I'd have to go and do some different steps. And that's a little bit of a deterrent for me to just use my phone for photographs. But then if I needed my phone, for some reason, then all I'd have to do is flip a setting and I would be back to having call and messaging service. Computers, iPads, those, I really try and keep them in the room when I'm on a wellness trip. For me, if I let myself, I would take my computer and I'd be like, oh, I'm sitting by the pool and I'm outdoors and I'm people watching it and, and I'm enjoying the trip. But then I'm just sitting on my computer and be like, oh, I'm not really working. I'm just getting some stuff done while I'm enjoying this. That's a temptation for me. So I was like, nope, okay, leave the computer, because I'll say, oh, I'm not really doing a lot of work, but I really am. And I'm not very present and focused on the wellness trip that I've planned for myself. All right. Sorry, Rebecca, I kind of blew through that a little faster than I meant to, but now we can just open up lots of questions, time for questions. I can circle back around, Rebecca, if you'd like me to maybe expound on any of the points I touched on more.
Yeah. Everyone, if you want to drop your questions in the chat and then we can address them now. Lucy, I loved this presentation. I know I've been thinking about going on a wellness trip myself, and you had a lot of really great points that I didn't think about. Like, I've always had the idea of doing a dreamy writer's retreat in like Ireland on like a very remote cottage. But you're right, like the time to fly there and to fly back, depending on how much time I can give myself for this retreat, like, do I want to lose that time? And so many good points about like making sure to put my phone away, and which seems so common sense, but we just don't think about it, and when our habit is always being on our phone or always being connected, that it can be a little jarring, reminding yourself that you need to take time away. These are some really good points. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I have to schedule time to not be on my devices to ensure that I'm not on them. And then as far as the timing goes, it's so interesting. I'll have clients, contact me all the time, new and returning clients, and they'll say, hey, most of them are based in the US. They're like, I have a week and I want to go to New Zealand. And I'm like, okay, well, it's going to take you. You're going to lose 2.5 to 3 days based on which coast you're on, and then you're only going to have 5 days to try. And I'm sort of like, you can do this, but maybe you should think about something that's just going to be more enjoyable. Like that's a destination you're going to want more time in, just period. And that's just a quick turnaround. That's going to defeat a lot of the sort of relaxation, vacation, sort of accomplished feeling.
Yeah. How long do you think, or like what would you say is a minimum amount of time? Like, could people, to make this more accessible to everyone, can it just be like a quick weekend getaway, like
Absolutely.
2 days?
Yeah, absolutely. It could be a day trip. If you really kind of planned it ahead of time. It
Mhm.
could be, just a day and night and a day.
Mhm.
Um, I have a lot of clients that contact me about doing staycations. It's kind of
Mhm.
an up and coming thing where they're like, hey, I really need a break from something, work, their kids, stress, something, but I don't have time off. Like I only have a Saturday and a Sunday. And
Mhm.
so they're like, can you find me a hotel or an Airbnb or something in their own town? So it's about changing your setting, but
Mhm.
you don't have to go to the other side of the world or to the other side of the country to find a really cool destination or accommodation
Mhm.
that's going to be, very conducive and very helpful for you.
Yeah, I like the idea of a staycation. You're so right. Just getting away and getting out of like your environment that you're used to
Mhm.
can really help also change your mindset on things too. Because if you're in the same habits, same environment, it's really hard to relax too. So yeah, just a quick hop on over to a hotel in your city.
Mhm.
Love that. Maybe with a spa package.
Ooh, yeah. I didn't talk about that. A lot of people think about, oh, wellness equals spa. It oftentimes does. It doesn't have
Mhm.
to. Some people like love spas. Some people, that's just not their thing. So
Mhm.
that's one of the things that gets associated, spa retreats get usually kind of, a lot of people think they're the same as a wellness trip, and
Mhm.
that can be the case.
Mhm.
Often is the case, but doesn't have to be.
Yeah. We have a few comments coming in. So, getting outside for some forest bathing for an afternoon can make a world of a difference. Whoa,
Absolutely.
forest
I love
bathing.
that.
I need to find out more about this. All great suggestions to consider when planning trips. Thanks for sharing. Staycations are treasured moments. Also love taking day trips. So easy and so many options from New York City. Yeah, so true. It's you don't have to go far. You can just consider like what's in your surrounding area. And if you haven't been there before, it'll still feel like you're getting away.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
If you think about it as getting away, it's going to feel like that to you.
mhm,
Even if you're not, again, like you don't have to go crazy far.
mhm,
You just have to think about what type of place, if you really want, think about New York. I mean, you've got so many places you could go in upstate, other parts of New England. You could go along the Eastern Coast. You could go, more into the Midwest. Um, uh, I have a couple of clients who are based in the New York City area, and they um, usually just they're kind of weekend warriors. They usually
mhm.
just do like weekend or long weekend trips. And they've never run out of places to go that are just a few hours drive from where they're starting.
Mhm. See, Patricia, staycations during this time of the year are worth it. So many nearby towns that have beautiful decorations. Oh yeah, as the holidays are coming,
So fun.
that's my favorite time of the year. Like
Mm-hmm.
so much joy and like energy happening that it's nice to get out and just see what everyone's up to. Instead of driving, take the metro that allows to make also makes it seem like a true getaway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like train travel and like slow like allows you to help slow down and then like you're not doing the stress of driving and you're just taking a bus, taking a train to your destination.
Yeah, I love that idea.
It's gonna be
I'm in
awesome.
I'm in Chicago part time of the year, and I have
Mhm.
I have done some Amtrak and some trains. The other part of the year where I live doesn't have a lot of good train access, but if
Mm.
you're near good train access, that is that because sometimes the train ride itself can be cathartic and one of the highlights of a trip.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Go outside and slow down to notice the birds and even the details of the trees. Breathe it in. It's simple. Yeah, being in nature is so restorative. I've always been drawn to trees. I know and it always seems so silly, but the more we learn about how nature is so restorative, it just makes so much sense. Like connecting with nature, like Upstate New York is the bomb all year round. Absolutely.
I love upstate New York. There is so much there. So many different regions that are so different from each other.
Hmm. So many small towns and the Great Lakes. That's right.
I feel
There's
like the
so
Midwest gets overlooked a lot. Or people
much.
like from the Midwest like think they need to go to another region, another
Mhm.
country. But I'm like, oh, there are really amazing little getaways, right near you. If you want to stay closer to home, or if they don't, or
Mhm.
if clients don't have a lot of time, sometimes I'll be like, well, yeah, we can get you on a flight across the country, or like, here's a town a couple hours from you that's very similar to the town, in the
Mhm.
Southwest or in California that you mentioned, like, and a lot of times clients just didn't necessarily think about someplace closer to home fitting the bill of what they're looking for in a trip. And then it's a lot easier. Usually it's a lot more economical.
Mhm.
And so it usually can work out sort of all around for them.
And it's probably less crowded. You're not, you know, trying to go to the same place that everyone's also going to when you're, you know, taking a trip somewhere off the beaten path.
I love traveling in the shoulder or the off seasons.
Mm-hmm.
That really, because then sometimes you can go to a really touristy place, but then feel like you have it to yourself, which is
Mm.
such a cool feeling.
Okay, everyone. I don't think that we have any questions. It looks like everyone loved the presentation because we're getting all of these amazing comments and thank yous. So, Lucy, thank you so much. This was an amazing presentation. I know I learned a lot. Everyone will be receiving a follow up email with a link to this recording and where you can follow Lucy and learn more about traveling with her. And if you want to ask her any more questions about planning any wellness trips, you can reach out to her on her email and all of that good stuff. All right. Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.